as good a tailback as there is in college football. I know, oh golly, who was I watching the night? I know Alabama's got a good tailback or two, and Pennsylvania State has a good tailback. But you look at Penny, there have been 3 weeks of Mountain West Conference play, and he's been the Mountain West Conference player at least one of those 3 weeks. In fact, it's been at least 2 of those 3 weeks, or it's been all 3 offensively. So excellent offensive line, very good size, clearly are committed to what they do. The receivers are extremely athletic and are able to produce some big plays. Defensively, outstanding. I think anytime you completely dominate Stanford in both the running game and in terms of the kind of pressure they're able to generate on the passer, tells you how thorough they are with the number of guys that have played, with a bunch of starts. If you look over the last 3 years, and whether it's total defense, sacks, forced turnovers against the run, and then their special teams. The kicker's made, I think, 28 of his last 29, with the only miss a 50-yarder. Their team as a whole, 19-1 in their last 20 Mountain West Conference games, and 15 of those won by 20 or more points. They're ranked nationally and absolutely have earned every bit of that respect.
So with them having so much talent, what's the approach then this week?
Well, I think one of the things we got to do is, each day you're trying to stretch and extend what your own capabilities are, and that's being a little more exact in the way that you play, and taking each one of our areas and just the kind of growth, the development that has to occur with our football team, and we'll do that today. That's always your focus, along with and pair with your preparation for the upcoming Saturday.
Coach, what else about Penny shows out on film?
Grant, I just, if you like a guy with power, he's 228, 230. If you want a guy with home run speed, he's every bit of it. You want a guy that has, that's fluid and has some lateral movement. If you want a guy that could handle 25 carries a game, if you wanted a guy that was a superb kickoff returner, took one to the house against Arizona State, and I think against Arizona State the week previously, I think he had 12 carries for 170 yards, just in the first half. A great back that, quite frankly, he would have been a 2,000-yard guy last year, except for, with who they had back there last year, too. Their team could be as good a team as we've had in the Mountain West Conference since the inception of this league in the last, 19 years?
When you have a guy like him and he follows Pumphrey, who's very similar in just his explosiveness and scoring ability and what you see with San Diego State, when you look at them on film, is there almost a level of, I'm trying to think of the right word, but recognition, comfort when you watch their film, because it almost seems like the same thing year in, year out?
Well, I wouldn't use the word comfort. They're an excellent squad, and in every facet that you pick, very, very good. And have been that way now here for a few years. Really, in this league have separated. You can tell. They have a very fertile base, and with their location, and have done a fine job with it too.
Having looked back at the film from Michigan, any more conclusions you can draw from your defense and how they performed?
Well, anytime you're able to limit the number of times that an offense gets in the end zone, you're probably have a good chance to be in a game. We have to be more exact with our run fits. We do. We gave up 4.5 yards a carry. I think they were, what'd they end up rushing for, 180 or 190? They have to be better that way, and I think especially when you're playing against a back that's even more of a home run threat. And then offensively, if you don't turn the ball over in the first 59 minutes, you got a chance to be in a game, but the level of execution, in order to produce more, is going to be required.
Is there anybody who Penny reminds you of, just for someone who maybe hasn't ever seen it?
You know, that's a great question. I mean, a guy that big, but how athletic? You know, the open field speed. You know, I mean, you could, literally, you could go through and you could say Dickerson, or you could go through and say, you know, those guys weren't 228 pounds, even though they ran with that kind of. I say this: you wouldn't mind being his agent. I mean, just.
I mean, could we be sitting here next year talking about him like Kareem Hunt right now? I mean, could he have that kind of impact?
I think no question. I mean, I do now. I mean, I know that's a, you know, that's a step, but I think absolutely. I mean, just you know, everything about it. Hard yards, make somebody miss, burst and acceleration. I mean, he's the best back. I mean, really, I think we've faced. I mean, you think back to, you know, played against DeMarco Murray, was an excellent back. Ronnie Hillman and Pumphrey were really good backs, but just his power, in addition to the elusiveness and top end acceleration.
And is there anything? Are you going to have anything extra this week in trying to kind of get the word out about this game? I mean, this a ranked opponent coming into Falcon Stadium on an evening game. I mean, I would think it has all the ingredients for a pretty big night at Falcon Stadium. Is there anything from a marketing standpoint you're being asked to do this week that you aren't?
I'll say this: anything I'm ever asked to do in development, in the fundraising part, or marketing, anything. If you ever ask me, I mean, if it's to go visit with people, I mean, if we're ever asked, we'll do everything we can to make it a yes. And yet that's not our direction, and we realize that. That's not our, but absolutely. That's it? Golly, German, you're quick. Your lateral quickness.
Teams admit they spent additional time preparing for your offense. They do the same thing for his freak defense. How much additional time do you spend preparing for that? Maybe more than normal?
I won't say normal. We always do take our first 5 games of each season and allocate time with study in June and July, and then some segments during the month of August. Especially our first 2 games always. Kind of always felt like that if you have a returning staff in your first game, you're probably going to get about 80% of what you see has already been shown previously, and then it kind of dilutes a little bit thereafter. You know, your second game is usually in the neighborhood of 60 to 70%. You know, your third game, you know, slowly a little bit. That's why we take 5. So we do for each one. So we have, you know, not, you know, probably maybe not like you did. I mean, yeah, we have. I think I'd have a hard time really trying to quantify exactly how much.
What makes it so difficult to block that? That's key.
Their talent level. I mean, really. I mean, I tell you what, really, where they do a superb job is they do. I mean, being able to identify guys that truly are tremendous playmakers. You know, you see it. I think, you know, it's easy sometimes to think, hey, there's got to be a certain benchmark in height or weight or length. But each one of those 11 guys that are on the field are guys that, you know, can either, you know, create a minus yardage play, or can cover, can tackle, can disengage from blocks.
All the discussion obviously centered around the running backs, but you mentioned their receivers are also very good too, with Chapman throwing the football. You look at somebody like Marquise Griffin and how well he played against Michigan. I guess it's a good time for him to play that well, because they're going to have another, not just him, but the entire defensive backfield has a big test on Saturday.
Well, we do. I think, you know, the part that's we're clearly going to see more one-on-ones and more downfield contested balls, contested plays than what we did 3 days ago. And we are. And And this is a group that certainly has every bit of that ability to stretch you, 40, 50 yards down the field. And, at the same time, being able to identify for a guy, too, based upon certain formations, I may be in a one-on-one coverage, or I may need to know exactly where I need to fit with an interior run, the detail that's going to be required.
Do you think that the decision-making on the option from Arion needs to be better against San Diego State than maybe it was against Michigan?
It was pretty darn good. What part didn't you think was?
Well, it just seemed like he called his number a lot, and somebody like Tim didn't get near as many touches as maybe some of us anticipated.
There's your thought. You got another one? You got it there? No.